Is this brand new Path of Exile 2 item complete trash? Or is it absolutely OP? One thing is for sure, it's baiting me at League Start. After all these PoE 2 news drop, the question is begged, how packed is this patch for minions? I know Gazzy is beyond ecstatic. Then of course it wouldn't be a PoE 2 or PoE League launch without a little bit of discussion? Drama? I think the whole situation surrounding paid builds is extremely simple, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And this news drop from Grinding Gear Games is the most under the radar, most important feature being added in 0.5 Return of the Ancients for both build creators and for players who like to make their own builds and annotate stuff in game. I do not use build guides, but I absolutely will be using this build planner feature. Then finally, we are sailing the seas in Path of Exile 2 with the long-awaited Boat League, charting islands, slaying bosses, finding new treasures, and much more. Somewhere in New Zealand, Bex is smiling. Oh, and there was a massive Path of Exile 2 race, Cast on Comet versus Talkative Try, and the results were extraordinary. It was a nail-biter. Some might say a barn burner. Hey Exiles, it's Talkative Try. We have another Path of Exile 2 news video that is absolutely jam-packed with information, plus a little bit of community commentary and discussion around the whole paid builds zeitgeist. Timestamps are in the description below, and if you enjoy these style of videos, make sure you like the video now, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to help me grow. I'm aiming for 60,000 subs this league. Let's kick it off with two of the coolest uniques Path of Exile 2 has ever shown off, the Auspics and the second one, Facebreakers. We're going to glance at Facebreakers first because I think this is the coolest unique in all of Path of Exile 2. Truly the most unique, and I believe it is baiting me into a league start. Facebreaker is a Path of Exile 1 classic. It's unarmed gameplay, but in Path of Exile 2, they are putting it up a notch. You are able to use one-handed mace skills with Facebreakers while both of your hands are empty. And if you kill bosses throughout the campaign, which we all do, you will get more and more physical damage. Such a cool mechanic, breaking bosses' heads, killing them throughout the campaign. There are 60 bosses in total to hunt down and break the faces of. We don't know if this also applies to endgame bosses like the Arbiter of Ash, the Arbiter of Divinity, the Bodak, the King of the Mists, and so on and so forth. We will find out once the game actually launches. In addition, this is a strength stacking item. You get 1% more unarmed damage per 5 strength, and we learned from Grinding Gear Games that this does interact with Hollow Palm technique. You can use this item in unison with that Keystone ability. However, there are some questions about how good that will be and how Facebreakers will interact with the Fists of Stone passive on the Martial Artist Ascendancy, which will be changing up how the gloves themselves interact with your character because they add and change the unique modifiers on the gloves. I think it might turn this node right here, 1% more unarmed damage per 5 strength, into a dexterity stacking node so it melds better with your typical monk. These right here have no level requirements, so they can be used at the very start of your character's progression, which really makes them seem like they could be a second character leveling unique, but I am intent on finding them ASAP, league starting this, and trying to push it deep into the end game. Will it be bad? It's very possible. Am I getting absolutely baited? Very possible. But I am determined to turn what some people think is trash into one of the most overpowered unique items in the game. I mean, this just looks so sick. It's so exciting. Look at this. Fist of the Gods. It's a literal fist, not a hammer. Gotta try this out. Grinding Gear Games, I absolutely applaud you because the design you've been putting into your uniques in this patch is just superb. Thank you for doubling down on making uniques truly build defining. just like you did with Facebreakers and this next item. We then have the Auspix, which is a unique body armor which is tied to minion builds in a way. We also get this sick lore drop at the very beginning, but I will not linger on that. That's for a future video. The big gimmick of this piece of armor is that it allows you to summon a raven and then command that raven to dive bomb on your enemies. Another new unique type of minion coming in Path of Exile 2 0.5. Minion enjoyers absolutely rejoice. I gotta ask, how many of you are minion players, or how many of you just have stayed away from minions entirely? Because honestly, that is me. But this patch, minion enjoyers, between this unique, boss, taming, and everything else, they're eating really good. In addition, you're getting this aura, which is slowing and debuffing the target while they're in your presence. And while you are on low life, your chance to deflect is lucky. This looks like this unique will meld with a lot of existing builds. We'll see how strong the Raven actually is. One thing is for sure, the aesthetic of it, it's sick, and honestly, it's reminding a lot of gamers of the Falconer in last Epoch, or even harkening back to the days of the Diablo 2 Raven skill. Am I crazy for saying Facebreakers especially is one of the best uniques in the game in terms of design? Let me know in the comments, guys. Then we had a full breakdown of the build planner feature coming into Path of Exile 2, showcasing that yes, the community has built a bunch of excellent free features that help you construct builds in Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1, but at this point, having something in game is necessary, and they showed it off in full here, showing that you will need to construct a .build file using Notepad, or probably Path of Building. You'll be able to export into a .build file, drag it into your documents folder for Path of Exile 2, and be able to select which build you would like to be following on the passive tree, your gem slots, and your item slots as well. You can see right here the path is so well highlighted. This is going to be a huge boon, not just for build makers, but for those of us who'd like to just pre-plan our builds, which I 100% will be doing once this comes out in 0.5. And then you can see here too, you can make notes about which gems to take and when. You can select which build you're looking at. And I think the best part, the absolute best part, is annotating your item slots, reminding you what you need to prioritize when you are looking at items that you pick up off the ground, when you're crafting items. I am going to use this all the time. It's so much better than having something else up on your second or third monitor, or needing to alt tab out, or just try to recall it yourself. This feature is just a boon to players of all types. I hope a lot of people utilize it. I'm so glad Grinding Your Games put in the effort to implement this early and before 1.0, when we surely will be getting such a load of new players. And then, of course, out of nowhere, a bit of drama and discussion arose about build planners, because now you have a build file that you'll be able to post in game. No use of third-party tools really needed. It's just in a file. It's a .build file. The streamer Jungroan came out and said, if you lock your build file behind any type of financial gating, you are scum. Really hope we don't see this kind of behavior, but the system has a lot of potential to improve accessibility. While I do agree with him on principle, I wouldn't go as far as calling people scum. We get quite a few responses below, but the one that everybody's talking about is the one from Guy That Dies, who is the current record holder for the world record for campaign to maps. He is putting out a bunch of excellent content on his particular channel, and he said, calling creators scum for charging money for their own tested builds is wild. The in-game importer is cool, but no one is owed your work for free. This caused basically every creator to throw their hat in the ring with their opinion on this matter, but I think the whole discussion is incredibly simple. I said as much right here. Here's the simplest take about paywalling Path of Exile 2 builds. Can you do it? Sure. Should you do it? No. It will ostracize you in the eyes of the community immediately, and it'll make it extremely difficult to ever build up your content, no matter how good it is. The PoE and now the PoE2 community has a history of being community driven. All the best tools are free. Some are open source. Look at Filterblade, Path of Building, Exiled Exchange, PoE Ninja, and oh so many more projects. Then look at all the builds and build makers. Free to access the content, especially those of the good build makers. There are a couple creators who paywall content, but most of those builds, from my understanding, are either trash or stolen. I know it sounds a bit silly, but there is a camaraderie to how the Path of Exile community operates. You are sabotaging yourself if you do this and joining the ranks of some less than savory people. Don't do it. I would never buy a build or guide for PoE2, but I would watch ads, tip a creator with subs if I deem their content deserved. Done it many times. How about you? And I would love to hear people's opinions on this in the comments below. I think it's really cut and dry. It really ballooned out of nowhere. I don't think it's as big a deal as people made it out to be. Such a small fraction of the community does this. And I really believe what I wrote there. Anyone who does will be ostracized, no matter how excellent their content is. But if you really want to do it and you want that bag, I guess if it's legal from grinding your games and people are paying for your stuff, go ahead and do it. I just would never do it myself. I feel like there's a better way to monetize extra content, like behind the scenes work or one-on-one personal coaching or something else like that. Anyway, grinding your games also showcase off the new Expedition and Ruins of Aldur mechanic, where you are traveling south and sailing the seas using expedition logbooks to infinitely unfog the ocean. And there are a couple tidbits in this particular teaser that I think a couple people may have not noticed. The first is right here. I instantly noticed this. Sinkhole requires Waystone tier 16 or higher to open. This hints further toward a reinvention or update of the Waystone system. We know that Waystones are now coming in ancient, refined, and pristine varieties. There was some speculation that the monster level would be rising up to level 90. It looks like that was incorrect and maybe photo bashed together. However, I don't think that tier 16 Waystones being required to open this map is going to work with the current system, in which you have to corrupt a tier 15 Waystone into a tier 16. I'm guessing that tier 16s will be far easier to obtain in the future, and maybe there will be corruptible tier 17s because it does say or higher. We'll just have to see when the patch notes drop tomorrow. The rest of this video is showcasing some interesting rewards, boss fights, area designs. It really does look like they went full in on the exploration and new content aspect for sailing the 7 seas. There is one thing that I wanted to bring up here that looks a little scary. This right here is the Ruins of Aldur crafting menu. I'll move my camera for everybody. This right here is the little search bar, the scroll wheel. There are so many crafting recipes coming with this mechanic. It is the thing I am most frightened for in this brand new league. It looks like it might be complex. I suppose we'll have to see how it feels when we actually play it. But one thing is for sure, 0.5 is just packed to the brim. There's so many things coming. I have no idea what I'm really gonna start with, what direction I'm gonna go on the Atlas, what's gonna be fun, what's gonna be good. I do know I'm going to just have an absolute blast on launch day. I also had the most fun I've had in Path of Exile 2 in quite some time when I raced my brother Cast on Comet, casted by Crimson Cast a couple of days ago. It was a nail biter. It came down until the very end. We were neck and neck, but my brother was ahead almost the entire race. I'm going to include just 1 minute of highlights from the race to close out the video. We've got patch notes coming tomorrow. We have the DM and Gazzy interview coming on Saturday, and probably Path of Exile 2 news every single day leading up to the massive 0.5 launch. If you want to see it all, if you want to follow my streams and the like, make sure like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. Best way to help the channel grow. Appreciate you. Thank you. Good morning. Good night. I will talk to all of you later. Let's roll the highlights.
Staying well below half HP for the entirety of this fight, dodging and rolling back and forth, trying to use the pounce in order to mark enemies, needs to be careful not to get light stunned, as he's going to be able he's going to be forced to back off of this mob. He still needs to be able to farm about 30% of a level. So if Talkative Try, who has now found the Geonor arena, is able to clear it on the first try, Talkative Try is in a definitive advantage here. Quarter of a level still needed for Cast on Comet, and we will see that dangerous icicle attack coming out for Talkative Try, and Talkative Try dies! And Talkative Try dies! Cast on Comet is in the lead! Cast on Comet is in the lead! Cast on Comet now in that second phase drops very low to that first sword swipe, takes a big chill as well, doing what he can with this Rend build in order to make progress. Geonor now with those ice beams, and Caston gets run by the first one, and Caston will be dead. Talkative Try now gets sent back again. Both brothers. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Both brothers on the elevator for their third tries. I can't believe it. What an incredibly close race between the two brothers. As the narrative of what happened, because neither of you know. You guys were about the same time off of the beach, within about 5 seconds of one another, and then Caston took a dominant zone over zone lead. Caston skipped the Ariadne fight against the Witch and was about a minute and a half faster to enter Red Veil, and then was about a minute and a half faster to kill Rust King, and then was about 2 minutes faster to enter Grim Tangle. By the time that you got to Cemetery, Caston Comet's lead had dwindled to about 90 seconds, as he had a somewhat slow fight against the Rotten Druid, and Caston was the first of the two brothers to find one of the cemetery zones, entering Tomb of the Consort around 40 seconds before Try entered Cemetery. Slow fights through both of the Tomb of the Consort zones for Try meant that Caston ended up having about a minute and 10-second lead to kill Lachlan, a lead which then ballooned as Caston skipped a bunch of zone XP but fought Crowbell, maintaining about a 40-second lead to enter Manor Ramparts, at which point Talkative Try was level 10 and Cast on Comet was about level 9.25, so Try 40 seconds behind but 3/4 of a level ahead, and it was any man's race at that point. Both of you died multiple times in Manor Ramparts and entered the Manor with a 1-minute lead for Cast on Comet. Unfortunately, the two of you, as you needed to catch up on experience Cast on Comet, the two of you entered your first ever Geonor fights 30 seconds apart, lead Talkative Try. As you progressed through the first phase of your first Geonor fight,